Salute to you. I am J Revolution, and you are listening to or watching Tips, the informative podcast series. Remember, we're available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor, and also the video version is on YouTube. Today, I am honored and privileged to finally have on the podcast a dancer turned dietitian. She has been involved in the world of food science, wellness, and nutrition since 2020, or at least that's what I saw. Maybe she has more to tell us. And she promotes a lifestyle of healthy habits versus eating restrictions. She's fun, energetic, and a bit of a fitness enthusiast. Please help me welcome none other than Nathalia Rupert, aka Trini Dietitian. Nathalia, I'm so happy that you're here. And the reason why I'm happy that you're here is because our first real interaction was through a video reply in which you recommended that you don't necessarily have to eat oats for breakfast. And of course, as you know, I took that personally.
Yeah, you took that one to heart. You really did. You took that one to heart. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you for having me.
Of course.
You know, I'm a talker. I love to talk.
Absolutely. It was right place.
So every opportunity to share information and to engage with the public, you know, I'm your girl.
Right.
So yeah, that was actually our first interaction where I did that TikTok. Turned into reel. I think that one actually got me so far. I think the most views I've ever had on TikTok so far.
Yeah, because it was good. It was good.
Thanks, I appreciate it, especially coming from you. But yeah, you don't have to have oats for breakfast.
All right.
And I think you took it to heart. Yeah, because is it that you have oats for breakfast?
No, what went on? I definitely had oats that morning. When I saw the video, so while I was eating the oats, I was scrolling through TikTok while I eating, and I saw it, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, like you feel like I compare that day, right?
It's 9 a.m. What you doing, man?
It was too early.
So I said, you know what? Let me finish my oats, and let me make this reply one time with the pain and suffering.
And it's how I missed it.
Yeah,
but
you did.
I think you're real entertaining.
No, we met before you recognized. So we met, and we somehow was like, you look familiar, and you told me I look familiar, and then I told you look familiar as well.
So we couldn't figure
and
it out.
Then it's a friend who told me, it's so funny, because they was talking about how we was having a good time on a particular lime. We won't get into the particulars of the lime.
We can't.
But on the lime, the friend said, no, it was so cool, and the fact that everybody mingled, even like, the way you did that video when you replied to Nathalia, and I was like, who? Yeah, so I went nuclear, and I'm like, wait, that's how I know her face from that video. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, let's dig right into this interview, and I hope that you have a healthy appetite for food puns, because we'll probably be doing it for most of the thing.
Yeah, sure.
Nathalia, for the people who don't know, tell us about your journey to the point where you decided. Give a little summary of your journey to the point where you decided to be a dietitian.
Okay. I like how you said, from dancer to dietitian.
Right.
So for me, I have always been into fitness. I've been a dancer for as long as I can remember, doing contemporary, modern, ballet, soca,
Ballet?
folk. Yeah, the
okay.
works. I mean, the only thing I've never dabbled in was hip-hop. So that's on my bucket list. I'm yet to get into that.
Oh, still. You still would do that.
Oh, of course. Yeah, why
okay,
not?
Great.
Great. Yeah, I mean,
why not?
Life is about experiences and learning and, improving yourself and whatnot. So I'm all, for learning something new. So for me, wellness has always been a part of my journey. And we spoke about this before we started the podcast. Parents always push you in the direction of being like a doctor, a lawyer,
right,
or, those types of fields. And for me, I just went into sciences. So sciences for me was, in preparation for going into vet med.
Oh.
Because I actually wanted to be a vet or a veterinarian.
Okay.
Because I love animals.
That's why my dog was probably all over you. She picked it up.
She picked it up, you know?
Right.
So like I love animals, especially dogs. I like cats. I like the works. I'm more of like a pet type person.
Right.
So like I would always like bring home strays, like from ever since after school the works. Like I would always bring home strays. We'll have them for like a couple days and then we'll send them back. And I had animals of my own. Like I had fishes, I had a dog, I had hamsters, I have like a turtle right now. I actually have a husky. His name is Hunter.
Okay, big up Hunter.
So like big up Hunter. Big up Navi too. So I actually wanted to be a vet. So up to sixth form, I still wanted to be a vet because that's what I was preparing for. So I would actually do like volunteer hours at a veterinary clinic close by, and then time to apply for university, and that's when the confusion came.
Okay.
Because for me, I had so many options, right? So vet med was definitely there. Dance was also there as well. But again, the parents in the back of your mind, being a dancer, you can't make no money. It's something that you could have as a side hustle. Yes, it's something that you're passionate about, but let's focus on this. So vet med was there, dance was there, and then dietetics was something that I learned about. I think what is it in my final year, in unit 2 of sixth form. So it's like you always know about nutrition and nutritionists.
Right.
But I don't want to say traditionally, but based on we've been bombarded by diet culture so much, Jamil, that for me as a nutritionist, it was just all about like restriction.
Right.
Not what you give, but it's always what you take away. Always looking at nutrition as black and white. So for me, that's what I knew nutrition to be, right? Not looking at the holistic or wellness, so to speak, part of things, because in that time, it was the Atkins diet you will hear about, all of those like really restrictive diets, and all of those.
I once
Jenny Craig and the works.
I once knew somebody who went on a lemon water and cayenne pepper diet. What?
But they will take it like first thing in the morning.
No, that's what they were on.
For the entire day.
Yeah, period. That's what they were on.
It has the salt water one. It has so many. So, and we're gonna talk a little bit about those as we proceed.
Of course.
Back then it was like the Jenny Craig and the I think was the Beachbody diet. Like everything was just promoting like a lean physique. So for me at the time, nutrition was basically just about physique. But as I went into it a bit more, I realized that, okay, it's so much more to nutrition than this. And then chronic disease management was like a switch went off, and it's like, okay, if you go into nutrition, you learn more about how food affects the body and how food can actually hurt or heal the body. And I actually had a lot of family members who have diabetes, hypertension, and the works. And it's like, okay, maybe this can be an option. But I've always been someone who likes to talk. Like I say, I like to talk, but I don't just like to talk aimlessly. I try to talk with purpose, and I talk with passion because I'm passionate about a lot of things. And I was always, I don't know, sometimes my family will joke around and say I like a little humanitarian because I always want to pick up for this one. I always like, so for me, so psychology was also there.
Okay.
Law was also there as well. Because like I said, I like to talk with purpose. I like to be in people's corners. I like to bend and whatnot.
That makes sense.
So it was law. I'm telling you, all my options here. Dietetics was not always the be-all and end-all for me. So it was law, psychology, vet med, BFA in dance, and then nutrition and dietetics was there. And then I applied for all because, again, the options were
there,
limitless. And I applied to different institutions, and with all of them. And I actually applied for plant and animal biotechnology as well.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. What plant and
animal biotechnology.
That sounds interesting.
It from the orientation, it was at the time.
At the time, okay.
And then BFA in dance. So I got through with the plant and animal biotech, and then I got through with dietetics. And then with the BFA in dance, well, that ship had sailed because there was a 2-part audition for it. I got through the first part, got through by the second time, and then by the second audition, I reached a couple minutes late for the audition. And of course, in the dance world, or in the, as you mentioned earlier, in the institutional parts of things, time management is, critical.
Like I said, that's what they.
Or it should be. Yes.
That's what they want it to be.
And the reason for that is because if you are late, you can throw off an entire production.
Absolutely, that is true.
So I got there late, and then, of course, it was like, no, unfortunately, you can't proceed. But however, we are welcoming you to come in for the next batch because you did so good at the first audition. I cried my eyes out. I remember calling my choreographer, big up you, Marcia Charles. She was there to like give me the comfort and whatnot. I called my mother, like I was upset, and I was like, you know what? She was like, maybe this is not the time. This is not the time for you, whatever. I was like, okay, I have other options. Let's fall into the other options. And I picked the dietetics.
Okay.
Because I just gravitated toward that.
Okay.
And then we're here. So after dietetics, after I finished my BSc, in order to practice as a registered dietitian, you can't just finish BSc and come out and say, yes, I'm ready to take on clients. You have to do an extensive year-long internship.
Oh, okay.
It's a practical internship. You're literally thrown into the fire with it. So it's like a 3-part. You do like a food service rotation, a clinical rotation, and then a community rotation. Did that, and then after that, you're able to register through the council. So here in Trinidad and Tobago, we have the Council of Professions Related to Medicine. So it's like the big umbrella governing body, and medical professions fall under that. So doctors, radiographers, nurses, dietitians, so in order for you to actually practice legally, you must register under the council, and then each one has their board. I also happen to be the secretary of our nutritionist board. Yeah. Right? And then 2016 was when I became registered, the beginning of, in January the 20th. I remember that date is engraved in my mind because it was the day when I was able to practice as a legal nutrition professional. And I actually started, after my internship, I started volunteering right away. Like I ain't waste no time.
A volunteering dietitian.
Yeah.
What does that involve?
So I volunteered. My final rotation during internship was my community rotation. And it was there I realized community is where I wanted to be. Before I thought clinical was it. And then I realized community is where I wanted to be. And then straight from my internship, I just started volunteering, as in seeing patients.
Oh, okay.
In the community settings, like in health centers and whatnot.
Oh.
So I actually started seeing patients right away. And then from there, got through with OJT, spent a couple of months at the same health facility, traveling, going to different health centers, seeing outpatient, our clinic patients, persons with diabetes, hypertension, the works. And then I left. So I stopped I left OJT. I don't want to say OJT because it would sound like I was working for OJT. So I left the health centers, and then I went to like a private clinic. And this clinic was like a startup clinic. There's a weight loss clinic.
Oh, okay.
And I was the one nutritionist / health coach there. And the weight loss clinic focused on, it was basically was the keto diet, but it wasn't called that.
Right.
And then I stayed there for a little, and then from there I actually went back to the health facilities because community is where it's at. And we can talk about why community is where it's at.
Course. I have a lot of things to get into because it's a spicy.
I know you're coming for me.
No, it's not that I'm coming for you. I want the information. So the first thing I want to put, you see that way you say you're about community versus just being clinical. I appreciate that because what I miss. That don't happen often, I promise.
So that makes sense.
It not only that it makes sense, but it's purposeful. Like you sound like it doesn't come from a place of, all right, well, as a dietitian, I know what I do, let me get paid for it. No, you sound like you want to help people. So that's one of the reasons why you're here. Yeah. I want somebody who's listening, who's probably struggling with their diet, to learn something.
Yes, of course.
So let's start either A, busting some myths, or B, tackling some of the popular beliefs that are going on right now. Okay, so let's start, right?
Ready.
You are ready. You are ready, I'm sure. Now, I have seen that you mentioned that food is directly related or could be directly related to your mental well-being, your mood, all these different things. I have been seeing people saying a lot now that there's no such thing as good food or bad food. There's just overindulgence, and you can practically eat anything as long as you don't overdo it. Talk to me about how you feel about that statement.
Well, I mean, that's really like a general statement.
Well, it is they do make it in a general
It's very
sense.
general.
I thought that they needed to be a bit more nuanced when they say it.
Yes,
But
correct.
they just throw out there's no good
No
food or
good
no bad,
or bad
food.
food.
It's just a matter of you overindulging things.
Yeah.
How do you feel about
a
that
lot of
statement?
nutritionists are actually pushing that agenda. So before we get in there, as we were talking about community, that's actually where Trini Dietitian was birthed,
Oh, okay.
because I got COVID and I was off from work for some time.
Right.
And I felt like I wanted to connect with persons. I wanted to connect still with the community, and I wanted to provide a platform for persons where they get the information like directly. You understand? And yeah, so that's where Trini Dietitian birthed, and that's where
So that's why
we were in
2020, right?
2020, correct? Because that was the time of COVID.
Using the COVID as the opportunity.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right. Right. So there's no good food and then there's no bad food. No, the point of that is to not give like moral to food, so
okay.
to speak. So when you say good and bad, you can say healthy and unhealthy. Because the thing is, overindulgence can too much of one thing good for nothing, as we know
Right.
and as we say here in terms of local balance. But there are certain foods that can be bad for your health depending on your needs at the time.
Right.
So it's not to say the food is bad, but it may not be the best for you,
Got you.
depending on your needs or depending on your requirements. So me personally, I will somewhat agree that there's no such thing as good food or bad food, but there's healthy and then there's unhealthy. And then there's healthy foods that can be unhealthy if you have too much of it or depending on how you have it. So take oats, for instance. Oats is considered a healthy food.
Big up oats, big up oats.
Big up you, oats.
Yeah.
Oats is considered a healthy food because it's high in fiber. It's high in a specific fiber called glucagon, which actually helps to regulate your cholesterol and can actually help with blood glucose management because it's a low glycemic index food. They work. So people swear by oats. However, given the times that we live in, everybody wants to be creative in the kitchen. Everybody's a culinary chef. People get bored with food, so they want to spice things up. Sometimes people add certain things to the oats that may not be considered the healthiest option. So you might add oats and you add condensed milk and you add full cream milk. And then on top of that, you add peanut butter. And then on top of that, you add your toppings like your granola. And it works. So the oats in itself is healthy. I'm not saying that the other food specific are unhealthy, but automatically you take what is a healthy food and then based on your combinations, you make it a high fat food.
Right.
So whereas you eat an oats to lower your cholesterol, once you add condensed milk and you add
That's
full
it.
cream milk to it, you're contradicting, you're counteracting the effects of it.
Right.
So to answer your question of good and bad, I won't necessarily disagree with that statement, but again, like you say, adding some nuance or based on the context of it,
Okay.
I would say there really is no good and bad food. There's healthy and then there's unhealthy, because if we look at processed foods,
Well, this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
When I hear people say there's no such thing as good food or bad food, I don't necessarily hear the words good and bad. I hear healthy and unhealthy.
Yeah,
Because
right.
that's the word people usually use to associate when they change their diet. I'm eating healthy.
Yes.
So the idea is I'm no longer eating unhealthy, I'm eating
Yes.
healthy. So when people say there's no such thing as good and bad food, I'm thinking, so are you saying that there's no food that is virtually unhealthy versus healthy? I feel like that is a bit of that might be dangerous information if it is you don't add proper nuance to it. So
I
that's
understand,
why
yeah.
I asked the question. Okay, so let's go into the reasons why diets don't necessarily work, because I hear all the time, we've heard about all the crash diets, and then there was a time where diet culture was crazy, and then recent times we've seen brands change their position. You hear brands like Weight Watchers say, no, you can eat whatever you want, but in this balanced plan, and then here other health, nutrition, health, fitness enthusiasts say diets don't work, etc., etc. But could you break down the reason why some of these crash diets don't work, and why you need to eat in a different way?
Right. I'm happy you specified crash diets, because before you said why diets don't work. The thing is, and to be clear, this is general knowledge here, but persons seem to, for some reason, not know. Everybody's on a diet.
Right.
Your diet is your pattern of eating.
Correct.
It's what you eat, how you eat, how much you eat.
By definition,
By definition,
everybody is on a diet. Correct.
Everybody's on a diet.
Yeah.
Yeah. We eat, hopefully, well, not everybody will eat every day, but basically a diet is basically a pattern of eating. There are crash or fad diets, and part of the reason they do work, but they're not sustainable.
Right. Okay.
And the reason why they do work at first is because what most of those diets have in common is that they're very low calorie. And one of the first things a lot of those diets do is what? What do they cut out?
Well, yeah,
or they encourage you to cut out?
The carbs, obviously.
Carbs.
And then with the quick calorie deficit, you see those results quickly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Because automatically, once you cut out a food group, and particularly carbs being our main energy source, you cut back on calories, and that's the trick in it. So a lot of them are low calorie. A lot of them restrict a lot of food groups, so automatically you are in a calorie deficit. We're still on calorie deficit here. So you will see the results, and you see it very fast. But the body needs a specific amount of calories to sustain itself. That is one. And in addition to, it's unsustainable because it's restrictive. So anything that is restrictive over a period of time can only last for so long.
Right.
Because eating is a way of life. Is something that we look forward to, especially in our culture.
Yeah, so much so that people think eating food makes them special. They're foodies.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Would you consider yourself a foodie?
I think everybody eats food. So a foodie
You're giving your definition.
is
yeah.
nothing special. So
Right.
I am slightly concerned by people who genuinely believe that they're foodies and they're not actually being professionally paid to review food. So let's. So if you just want a
I'll
free
take
meal,
a sip there.
right? If you just want a,
I'm gonna drink the water and mind the business.
if you just want a meal out of me, no problem. But don't act like if you have this special condition. No,
Right.
I'm a foodie, so I need to be fed. Well, that's every human being I know. You know what I mean? But yes,
Okay.
to go back to the fact is, yes, eating is in our culture. So
Yeah, it is. It's part of. So you find, especially like in social settings or just on the whole, and then the body changes. You go through different periods in your life, and the body just needs food.
yeah,
And it needs holistically, it needs it in balance. So when you restrict certain food groups and your body is deprived of it, your body then will kick into survival mode.
right.
And most times persons go on quote unquote diets for weight loss. And diets on the whole is not just about weight loss. Diet culture has made us to believe that. Because growing up, that is what I knew. You go on a diet just to lose weight. You go on a diet to be chiseled. You go on a diet to be skinny, or to be accepted. But a diet is not just focusing on weight loss. It's focusing really on health and wellness. So the reason why those diets really don't work in the long term is because they starve you on an emotional and a psychological level.
Oh,
And after a while, it's only so for so long you can keep up with that for. You could imagine Jamil going to a fete and you on a diet where you could only eat carrot sticks, cucumbers, and drink lemon water and take ACV, and you go to an all-inclusive and you have all these options to choose from, and all you could literally drink is water and something from the salad bar. How does that make you feel?
Well, first of all, I feel like, and say hi to my dog, everybody. She's wilding under the table. She loves Nathalia and she's only nibbling. I would probably not go to an all-inclusive if I was on a crash diet, but then again, I've never been on a crash diet.
Correct. And that was a trick question there. But the thing is, and it like I said, it starves you on an emotional,
it takes away-
psychological.
it takes away.
So much out of your life and your lifestyle that is really hard to maintain.
So give me so I would have, like I said, I did my stalking / research. I prefer research. and I saw you did a live with the dancing psychologist, and you were talking about the connections between food and mental health. And I mean, we're already on that path because you're saying the restrictions cause a psychological kind of imbalance. Tell me about how people who don't get proper nutrition could potentially be in a negative mental state. Have you seen anything like this before? Or people who don't get any proper nutrition probably are more prone to mental diseases as well? Give me some clarification on that.
I have seen where lack of food can affect your mood.
Well, yeah, of course.
And it happens with me because I tend to be hungry when
Hungry,
I don't
right.
eat on time. But yes, it can because
But we say hungry jokingly.
Yeah,
But
we
is
say
there
jokingly.
is there any like real is there solid science behind those things?
not that I know of
Okay,
currently
alright.
as we
Fair
sit here
enough.
talking today, right? But yes, it can affect you mentally. What do we get from food? We get nutrients from food. Now, all food, whether considered good or bad, will provide some nutrients for your body. And just to keep it simple, the main the macros that we will get from food are carbs, protein, and fats. The
Right.
body needs carbs. The brain needs carbs. It thrives on carbs because your brain uses a lot of energy. So it uses a lot of glucose, which is the body's form of energy, or the way in which carbs are converted into the body. Protein is needed for like the walls of your brain and ensuring that like your CSF or the fluid and whatnot is intact, and you have sufficient amounts to cushion the brain to send synaptic messages to the brain, and your brain also needs fats as well, right? So when it says you don't get sufficient carbs, you tend to starve the brain as well, and when you don't get sufficient nutrients or micronutrients, you tend to affect your hormonal balance or your hormonal system or
okay.
your endocrine system, because again, every function of our body relies on nutrients, specific nutrients. And if it is you aren't getting the right amount or the right balance of nutrients, or your body is deficient in a specific nutrient, yes, it can contribute to some kind of mental imbalance.
Okay.
For certain mental conditions, not just necessarily a lack thereof, but having too much of something can also affect you as well.
Yeah.
So
I heard
take,
sugar.
for instance, like sugar.
Messes with your brain. Like
Yes, it can, because it's hyperactivity. So like children with who's on the spectrum, like with ASD or even with epilepsy and whatnot, too much sugar can really cause them to be hyperactive or have more epileptic episodes and whatnot. So for those specific conditions, you find if you have too much of something, it can affect. And then if you have not enough or insufficient amount of something, that can also affect in terms of your mental stability, your mood, and of course, mental wellness as well.
all right, good.
She's fine. No, she's fine.
sleeping. Now, we wants to be part of the episode so bad. All right. So let's get into obviously the main questions that people would ask a dietitian. All right. So what to eat? So I'm not going to put you under the pressure to break down a whole meal plan for somebody, because if you want a meal plan, you could follow her right here. Pin it on the screen.
You're available for consultation.
You're available for consultations
And assessments.
and assessments. But I go into my kitchen, I'm looking around. Give me some good options for breakfast.
Yeah. All right. So we're dealing with breakfast, right?
Let's start with breakfast.
Let's start with breakfast, the most important meal of the day.
So they say.
Yes, so they say. We still don't know who is there.
Yeah.
And
so-
not THEYDEY. We still
Yeah.
don't know who's there. But for breakfast, and this could be for like all of your meals, you want to look at the plate model, where you have half of your plate with veggies, quarter with a complex carbohydrate, and quarter with a lean protein.
What's a breakfast veggie?
Right, so a breakfast veggie could be like a salad. You could decide what your salad is, whether it's lettuce, whether it's carrots, like shredded carrots, whether it's sweet peppers or bell peppers. They're also high in vitamin C. Whether it's tomatoes, whether it's cucumbers. A breakfast veg could also be a choker. You
Alright.
could do a pumpkin choker, bacon choker, tomato
Right.
choker. So, and then you have your complex carbohydrates. So complex carbohydrates are I think it's self-explanatory, but complex meaning that it's a bit more difficult compared to like a simple carbohydrate, meaning that it takes a little longer to break down. So you find you do have like a sugar spike when you have
Right.
complex carbs as if you have simple carbs. And what are some examples of complex carbs? oats, which you still don't have to have every day because it gets boring over time.
Big up oats
But
every
I
time.
say that one for you. But yeah, so you can have oats. You can have, let's say you could do like a sada, but it could be like a whole wheat sada, like sada bake. You can do hash browns. You can do wedges, like breakfast wedges. So you can do like baked potatoes. It doesn't necessarily have to be Irish potato, because if you're talking complex, we could do like sweet potatoes. It
What
can
eggs?
be
What eggs?
right. So that's protein. So we still on the complex carbs.
Oh, okay.
It's still on the complex carbs.
I'm gonna drink my
it
wine.
can- it can be, you can do pancakes, and you can make pancakes. It have different ways in which you can make pancakes.
Absolutely, from
Using stuff
scratch.
that you have at home. So you can make pancakes with sweet potatoes. You can make pancakes with oats, or you can make pancakes with a lot of different things that you have in your kitchen. And then when we're looking at protein, of course, eggs. Eggs are my favorite protein. Now we understand we have persons who are vegetarian. So if you're vegetarian, well, it depends, because it has different types of
Yeah,
vegetarian.
probably vegan. I know
Yeah,
vegetarians
so
who eat
vegan
eggs.
is, but some they're like, so if you are vegetarian who eats fish, you can do like tuna, or you can do sardine. You could even do soya, like soya chunks as an option. And protein will also, milk in itself or dairy products also, you will get protein from. So let's say, for instance, you're having an oatmeal for breakfast. You have your oats, you have your low-fat milk or your skim milk, and of course the veggies can easily come in. You could do like a pumpkin puree and you can mix it in. If you're doing like an egg scramble, or let's say like a tofu scramble, or you're doing soya, you can do that to the side. You can have even bread. You can have whole grain or multi-grain bread, and then you have your salad to the side. If you're doing like a choker, and let's say you're doing pumpkin choker, you could do a pumpkin choker with sada, and to add some more protein, you could do chana at the side as an option. So
We get a lot there.
you have options.
We get a lot there. Clipping that
You
for
have
sure.
options. But make sure half veggies, quarter lean protein, quarter carbs. Unless, however, and this is just general, depending on your needs, if you may need more protein because you're an athlete or you're a weightlifter, then that will change.
That will change.
If you need more carbs because, again, you
Yeah,
are also more active, depending on your job, depending on your lifestyle, that will change. If it is you need less carbs because, of course, depending on your condition, that will change. So, but this is just general. Half, quarter,
So the
quarter.
general plate model is half veggies,
yes.
half
Quarter,
complex carbs,
and
quarter
lean
protein. There we go. So then, I guess that is the same model will go through for lunch.
For lunch
So
and
you get give me a few lunch options.
Yeah. So
what would the Trini Dietitian?
So the Trini Dietitian will
recommend for
have
lunch?
a lot of things, because as you can see from Trini Dietitian, I am an all-inclusive dietitian.
Right.
It's not about what you eat, it's how much you eat,
Right.
and how you eat it and when you eat it, which is important, right? But a one pot, you could never go wrong with a one pot. One pot meals, you find the minimal time to prepare, they could stretch, and you're sure to find balance. So for instance, a pilau.
Right.
A pilau could be a good, well-balanced meal. You have your rice, you have your peas, you have your meat if you decide to add meat. You put your pumpkin and carrots in it, you do a nice little salad to the side or a little coleslaw. However, if it is you're doing that, you have making pilau, we like to put coconut milk. We like to put a little, that nice little orange, yellow, salted butter. I'm going to call its name. And then we might start the pot with oil. We still have to watch our fat intake. So
Right.
again, be mindful. Coconut milk is a must in a pilau for most of us, right? Especially the rooted Trinis or Trinbagonians. The butter, we could do without the butter. You don't have to
Gotcha.
start the pot with oil. If you're watching your cholesterol, instead of a coleslaw, you could just do a nice little cucumber slaw, cucumber chow with lettuce and tomatoes at the side.
Right.
Another option for lunch will be provision.
There we go.
We could do provision and a nice little stew fish, right? And you do peas or callaloo at the side. Because, provision could be a little dry sometimes. So you had to have something wet to go down with it, right? But you have options. Yeah, you have
Yeah,
options. Those are just two options. You could even do a sub for lunch, because nobody used to say there are breakfast meals, there are lunch meals, and there are dinner meals. There are some persons who eat the traditional lunch meals for breakfast, and persons who eat the breakfast meals for lunch.
Right.
You could do a sub. So the sub could be a nice, if it's, let's just get fancy, ciabatta bread, or you do like a panini, and you do like turkey in it, or grilled chicken, and you add
options.
your
Get
veggies and whatnot. So there are a lot of
Yeah.
options.
Well, I ain't gonna fight you with dinner because we had the model. We have the model.
Yeah.
Half veggie, quarter complex carb, quarter protein. I like
And
it.
don't forget
I'll
your
learn
healthy
something.
snacks
Don't
in
forget
between.
your- So right. So now we get into the guide, because again, we're going to answer the questions that people really want to know. Healthy eating is kind of hard. It's kind of difficult. I find myself buying fast food a lot. With all the fast food options available in Trinidad and Tobago, now, you don't have to call names, you don't have to point out anybody. But
we ain't endorsing anybody.
yeah,
for
because we don't
free
endorse
today.
anybody for free, exactly.
Yeah.
But give me a guide to somebody who decides to buy fast food. Now, what I mean by a guide is, let me give an example. For me, in particular, if I'm going to buy fried chicken, I would probably just buy the chicken and maybe skip out on the fries, drink water instead. Now, obviously, that's not going to counteract anything. But what I mean is, just to avoid overindulgence in any particular fast food, I'll try to limit certain things when I do eat fast food. Right? Tell me, because I saw a post on your Instagram with a guide to fast food. But break down the Trini Dietitian guide to fast food. If I have no choice but to eat. Sorry, there's always a choice. Let me take that back. But if I find myself eating fast food, give me your recommendations for the places you probably would go to or the things you should eat
Right.
if you're stuck.
Right. So fast food doesn't necessarily have to be bought. You can have fast food at home in your house.
Okay.
And this is where meal prep comes in, right? We have our nice 15-minute, 30-minute meals that we can do. But for the sake of answering your question,
Yeah.
when you're looking at fast food, I will say two things. Either you go all out,
All right.
or you go home in your house and eat what it is you have, or
Why
you
is that?
make
Why is that?
adjustments. If you're eating the fast food, you might as well go all out.
Okay.
You don't think so? Talking about having the chicken and not having the fries. For me, the fries is probably the best parts. That's what I look
Alright.
forward to. When I make fries at home, it don't taste the same way how it tastes on
Right,
the outside.
outside. Right.
And we know why, because it have more fat, the trans fats, the salt and whatnot. But what I will suggest is, let's say you go and you have like fried food as the main option. If, like what you just said, you will normally purchase a beverage, you're on the right track there, Jamil. You do water or a low calorie or 0 calorie beverage instead. Another option will be to remove the skin from the meat,
Oh, okay.
because that's one way to remove a lot of the saturated fats, a lot of
Right.
the oils.
Okay.
But again, people will say, so you're
That's the
telling
best
me
part.
I buy fried chicken and I can't eat
the skin,
I can't
yeah.
eat the skin, then not making sense to me. However, you're asking for options.
Right.
You say you always have choice, but if, however, your choices are very limited and it's only limited to those specifics, then we have to try out to make it healthy. However we can. There are a lot of fast food places that actually have salads an option. You choose the salad in place of the fries. If it is you go to, let's say, like a home style spot or like a Creole spot,
That might be the best
make
places to
sure
go.
it may be,
may be,
depending on
okay.
how they prepare.
Right.
But again, use the plate model as an option. Instead of overloading your box with just carbs, potato salad, macaroni pie, rice, the works. Balance it off. Half
Right.
veggies, quarter protein, or you can even do half veggies and half protein, depending.
Yeah.
Or
Which
you
is
can
what I do usually, to be
yeah,
honest.
because I know you're into fitness.
Yeah,
I see
I
you
try
lifting
that
weights. I
thing.
see a couple little stuff downstairs, so I know you're doing your thing. So you need your extra protein. But yeah, so just let the plate model be applied. And then we have a lot of options now. We have so many options.
It's true.
So
It's
for
true.
instance, let's just say Chinese food. Now, a lot of persons don't like Chinese food for whatever reason, but there are also persons who like Chinese food. So I'm speaking to
them.
that. Yes. If you're having Chinese food, there's veggies as an option. Don't just take the rice or the noodles and the meat. Take the veggies too, whether it's chow mein, whether it's a chunky veg. If it is, your custom, you have a specific that you will take all the time. You're always taking sweet and sour pork. Now, yes, pork is fine, but it's also very high in saturated fat. So
Right.
if it is, Monday to Friday when you work in, you'd have a Chinese spot or restaurant close to you and you're always getting that. Cut back a little bit. You go by the
Got you.
doctor, your cholesterol a little high. Instead of that, you choose chicken instead, because chicken is a leaner protein source as an option. Or you switch things up and you do a nice little soya and tomatoes and that kind of thing. You look for some kind of variation. There are a lot of prepackaged meals sold in groceries, in supermarkets now, that has a great balance.
Right.
As an option, you stop off in the grocery and you pick up a nice little meal. And
Right.
they actually follow or try to follow in those prepackaged meals.
Right. The plate model. Okay.
In the gas station as well, you have the option. You pick up one of those prepackaged meals as well. So yes, you can have fast food, but fast food doesn't have to be the traditional ones that we are
Always,
accustomed
yeah.
to.
The ones that readily have. Because, certain fast foods are readily available all over the nation, and that's a problem I actually face because when I my job like, always has me on the road.
Yeah.
And going through the drive-through and eating while I'm driving, I have my
Convenience.
PhD in eating and driving. The E&D, I have my PhD in E&D for sure, which I need. I had to. It was actually I think it was a bit of an addiction. That even when I was on the road, not even addiction. I would most say, your brain is a use it or lose it kind of function, right?
Correct.
So the more you do something, it
became a
becomes
habit.
easier. So it became a habit. Even if I was not hungry, I'm on the road and my brain passes a KFC. It's like, wait, do you not supposed to go through this drive-through? That became a problem for me. So, okay, cool. I didn't ask you this in the beginning, but I should have.
You plug in.
I plug them. I plug them.
Yeah.
But I small thing. I plug them.
Yeah.
They just pull people out in situations.
Oh,
like that.
definitely.
So I had a, they go take the plug.
Definitely. Yeah.
I didn't ask you this in the beginning, but just to solidify it in people's minds in case they feel it, you know what you're talking about. The scope of your knowledge in terms of what you've studied in dietetics. I thought it was dietary science. Well, same thing, right? Would you have studied like physiology, anatomy, anything to do with diseases, all those sorts of things? Would you have studied that?
Yeah, the works. Those were definitely core courses because in order to speak about nutrition and how it affects the body, you have to know what is going on. So biochemistry, anatomy and physiology, nutrition therapy, nutrition
Therapy.
throughout the life cycle is one, because you wouldn't give a 6-month-old the same
Obviously,
food you're gonna
yeah,
give
a
a
60,
4-year-old or like a 65-year-old person, So so
Excellent.
anatomy and phys would definitely, those were core courses throughout. My study was like 4 years of study,
Oh, okay.
excluding the internship, and anatomy and
So
phys.
4 years of study and then a year of internship.
Yeah, internship.
Wow,
And
okay.
anatomy and phys came through for a couple of semesters as well. Biochemistry was definitely there. It was not my favorite subject at the time or course at the time, but it came to be very useful because we practice it on a daily. What else? Even psychology was there.
Interesting.
Because as a dietitian, when you sit with someone, you are dealing with the mind, looking at behavior change.
Yes.
Looking at behavior
Of course.
change. So psychology was definitely there because you have to tap into people's minds when it comes to like the counseling part, helping people understand why they need to make these changes. What else? Well, MNT, medical nutrition therapy. A couple,
You've definitely answered because
organization
you already put.
even accounting,
Oh,
learning how
okay.
to manage your own books,
Right.
So I mean,
That's cool.
yeah.
That's a cool. Where did you do this?
Definitely. I did at the University of West
Okay.
of the West Indies, yeah.
Right.
It's also at USC as well.
Okay.
So I would recommend persons, anybody who would like to be a dietitian in the future, I will also recommend USC as an option as well.
And how has this career path been treating you? In other game, facts and figures, but how have you been functioning as a dietitian? Is this something you do full time, or do you have? I mean, we all need multiple streams of
Full-time.
income, but how has this been treating you?
Multiple streams of income is very important, especially depending on the lifestyle that you set for yourself.
Correct.
In our time, we can't just focus on just one thing
Absolutely,
alone. But dietetics for me so far has been really amazing, and yes, I do it full time. I have my little side hustles because but it's right now it's my main hustle. So apart from where I currently am employed full time, of course, I also have my private, which is Trini Dietitian. And one thing I can say is that it has kept me afloat during this pandemic, because I am considered an essential worker. Like,
Ooh,
we
right,
never
right,
had
right,
off
right, right.
times. We never had a downtime.
Right,
Even
right,
when I
right.
had COVID, we didn't have a downtime because I was doing clients virtually. Trini Dietitian was birthed and whatnot. So yeah, so far dietetics has treated me really well because I can literally be any part of the world. I could work remotely. I could be any part of the world and see clients, if you get
Awesome.
what I'm saying.
So folks, you put it right here that
Yeah.
you have something solid in dietetics as well. We're coming to the tail end, and I really appreciate all the information that you've shared with us. I want you to just address one last thing. We haven't talked about you being a fitness enthusiast. Give a little bit of a spiel. There are a lot of things that people, there are a lot of myths that people have when it comes to exercise. Now, I'm not trying for you to get into any big thing, but there are some people who believe that they are limited by maybe not being able to go to the gym. They're just at home. They feel like they have to work out for an hour and all these different things. And give your best advice to close about exercise and that in relation to your diet.
All right. Now movement is very important. Our bodies were meant to move. And I think we have become a sedentary society where a lot of what we do involves low intensity type of physical activity. A lot of persons have desk jobs, office jobs, and whatnot. But what I want to encourage persons to do is get up and get moving. Reason for that is because exercise has so many benefits, and it's not just focusing on weight loss alone. It helps to strengthen you. You become stronger. We joked about this a bit earlier. So you become...
Well, it was completely necessary.
Survival skills, people.
Right.
Survival skills. So you become stronger. It helps with your bone density. It lowers your risk for things like osteoporosis and osteopenia. It also helps to actually manage your blood pressure as well, because the heart in itself is a muscle. So when you become more active and you exercise, you strengthen the heart muscle. You also help the body to get more oxygenated blood, which helps the blood flow. So it improves your circulation and it improves your mood. When we exercise, our body releases certain feel-good hormones where you just feel better. It helps you get through your day. You have more focus and function depending on persons who like to exercise in the morning time, early in the morning, and gets out of the way. If you're somebody who prefers to exercise in the evening time, you get that high, you get that kick where you feel like you have real energy, but then you sleep so good as well. So if you're sleeping, exercise helps with that. And in addition to, it goes hand in hand with your diet, because whereas diet is the main part of it, it's like 90%, it's diet, 10%, I would say, is exercise. Sometimes diet alone is not a standalone. Depending on your goals, exercise really plays a major role. And when we're talking about physique, it helps to improve your overall physique, which automatically improves your confidence. You feel better about yourself. And exercise in itself, for me, fitness for me has gone beyond the physique. For me, it's about keeping my body healthy. It's about keeping my blood sugar stabilized or reducing my risk of becoming diabetic, because I have a family history of diabetes. Prevention is better than cure.
Right.
And I think as a dietitian, as dietitians or nutrition professionals, we play a major role, because it's not just about dealing with sick care. It's about focusing on primary and preventative care.
Right.
So I want to encourage persons to really get up and get moving. So I was saying, for me, exercise or fitness is beyond the physique. For me, it's about making sure I am well inside, helping me sleep better, helping me focus and function better. And because I've noticed that with exercise, since I've been consistent, Jamil, my stamina and endurance level has gone up. Gone
Trinidad!
up. Yeah, I'm telling you. And that makes me feel so good, because I could apply that in my daily lifestyle. And I think that's like a plus for me. So you have to know what you're doing it for. You're not just doing it just for doing its sake. Whatever you're doing it for, do it and try and stick with it. If you realize you can't do it on your own, get a buddy, get a support system. Get somebody to go with it for accountability. Get a trainer, it helps. Because for me personally, I love to exercise. It's always been part of me. I've danced, I've
Obviously,
been into track and
physical
field.
activity,
So I've always been in me. So for me, it comes okay, but then there's traditional exercise like lifting weights, going and run. Not everybody likes that. Not everybody likes the traditional type of exercise. If you like to dance, go and dance. If you like to cycle, go and cycle. If you like to swim, go and swim. All of those are part of exercise. And it's really just about improving your overall
overall well-being.
well-being. Yeah.
So if you needed a sign to exercise, this is it. This is it. Okay. Well, Nathalia Rupert. Nathalia or Natalia?
Nath.
So it's Nathalia.
Nathalia, yes.
Excellent. So I would like to thank the lovely, energetic, and we're going to give her a tip for these smiles. Right? This is the most smiles per capita we've had in the show so far. From now on, I'll be paying attention to see who beats this, because we have had more smiles per capita in any episode. So I'd like to thank Nathalia Rupert, the Trini Dietitian, for stepping through. I probably am going to have her on here again, and who knows, we'll probably be doing some future projects together in the kitchen. Let her come and order the kitchen. So we're not stopping here. Thank you so much for being a part of the informative podcast series, and we definitely learned a thing or two. I'm sure people out there know about the plate model, right? And how important eating is, and the little breakfast tips you give us. Because I don't eat no salads for breakfast. I'll show you. Don't worry, we will
Not
get
just
to
on
it.
Sunday,
Not just on
but Sunday
Sunday.
lunch. Have it every day. Yeah.
All right. So thank you once again for all who tuned in to this episode of the Informative Podcast Series. I am J Revolution, and of course, it's always time to go beyond the tip. And we are signing out.